So you think you can tell heaven from hell, blue skies from pale? Can you tell a green field from a cold steel rail? A smile from a veil. Do you think you can tell? And did they get you to trade your heroes for ghosts, hot ashes for trees, hot air for a cool, cool breeze, comfort for change? Did you exchange a walk-on part in the war for a lead role in a cage? And how I wish you were here. 'Cause we're just two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl, year after year, running over the same old ground. What have we found? Same old fears. I wish you were here. And how I wish you were here. 'Cause we're just two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl, year after year, running over the same old ground. What have we found? The same old fears. How I wish you were here. How I wish you were here. 'Cause we're just two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl, year after year, running over the same old ground. What have we found? Same old fears. I wish you were here. Wish you were here.
Okay, welcome. I'm going to do a little debunking today. I don't know if y'all remember Carson, the reasonable vegan. Hello, Lori. Hello, Unmasking Vandalisme. Charger Mopar. I like the Mopar YouTube channels. Red Briar is here. Red Briar asks, has anyone ever heard of population reduction as proposed by vegans? I certainly have. Okay, so what we're going to look at today is let me pull it up. This was a critique. Y'all let me know if you can hear me okay. So this is a critique of my video called The Harmful Vegan War on Leather, Wool, and Fur. So this is a reaction video by a couple of vegans. This is Carson, the quote, reasonable vegan, and Quade Rowan. And I'm going to, this is about an hour long, so I'm not going to debunk the whole thing today. I'm going to take the first segment and we're going to make some different parts out of this so that it's not too long for people to watch in one sitting. Okay, so here we go. We're going to see if we can get started.
Alrighty, how's it going?
Good. How are you today?
Doing good. Okay, so we have a specific talk today, but only kind of specific. So I sent you a video.
Right.
Garland Farms did a video on clothing and how fur and wool and these various different.
Okay, first thing I want everyone to notice is that this fellow Quade Rowan is, oh gosh, I've got a dog outside that's barking. I'm going to have to go get her out of there. Y'all hang with me for a moment while I bring that winter dog back in the house. Okay. The dachshund is back in the house. She's no longer barking at whatever she's barking at out there. Dachshunds are so vocal. Actually, I think I hear a motor outside. Hold on. Yeah, hold on just a second. We've got an interruption here. Bear with me, fellas and ladies. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, that was my brother. He thought he found an arrowhead. I don't know if you can hear his four-wheeler out there, but yeah, these are the last four arrowheads I found. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I actually walk around a lot. I found a lot of these around the place. My brother lives on the other end of the property. He's never found one. So he thought he found one. It was actually just a piece of flint. So I had to tell him, too bad, so sad you didn't find an arrowhead yet. Keep looking. All right, back to the job at hand here. We're debunking a debunk of Garland Farms over on the Reasonable Vegan channel. This is an embarrassing video for them, I think. Once you go through and you actually examine the things that they say, I think that they I don't think that the concern for the animals is something that can actually be portrayed as genuine, because there's when we get through this entire video, and this is just going to be part 1, so we're going to get through the first 6 or 7 minutes of this, just to debunk the things that they're saying about my video, which exposed the environmental harm, which vegans always try to separate the environment from the animals, and the wild animals live in the environment. So when you destroy the environment, you're actually harming animals, and you're killing animals, and you're causing animals to suffer. Of course, it's out of sight for the vegans. So out of sight, out of mind, they don't care. In fact, in this video later, in another episode of this later on in the video here, this video, Carson talks about how he's not an environmentalist. He doesn't really care about the insects being killed. And I'm going to illustrate how the pesticides that are sprayed on the crop agriculture that produces the items on the vegan menu kill so many insects that the animals, such as birds that rely on insects as a food source, actually end up starving to death. And starving to death is a very, it's not a quick process. It happens over a long period of time, and there's a lot of suffering involved. So let's get started.
Things that are made from.
Oh, yeah. I think I wanted to actually talk about Quade Rowan. This is this guy here, his guest. He's
how fur and
you see he's sucking on that vape machine, and I'm not going to come down on people who vape, but a vegan who vapes and is pointing fingers at meat eaters because animals die. What we know about vape,
wool and these various different things.
what we know about vaping is this. Let's see if I can pull it up here. Yeah, so vaping actually harms the environment, and you can't separate the animals from the environment. All of the wild animals live in the environment. So when you harm the environment, you're harming animals. You're causing animals to suffer. You're causing animals to die. So vape waste creates huge environmental issues. It increases single-use plastics. So these plastics that are required for people that vape, they're single-use. They can't be recycled. It increases plastic pollution. We know that right now you've got microplastics in the ocean that are causing all kinds of marine animals, including whales and dolphins, to suffer as a result of different biological processes that end up being kind of short-circuited, interrupted, endocrine disruptors, changes their dietary cravings, can actually cause like a semi-starvation mode for a lot of these animals in the ocean. It can decrease fertility. It can cause different types of suffering. See the increase in tech waste from the vape parts. So these vape machines don't really last forever. So there's a lot of waste there. They end up in the landfills. They contain lithium-ion batteries. So you've got lithium mining. You've got lithium-ion battery pollution. It introduces toxic chemicals into the environment when these little vape machines are discarded. So, right off the bat, we're looking at a situation where a vegan is it for taste pleasure? I'm not sure what flavor he's using for his vaping habit, but he's certainly undeniably vegan vaping. As you can see here. So, this is, you could call it taste pleasure. You could call it, some type of addiction that this guy, Quade Rowan, may have, maybe addicted to nicotine and willing to exact all of the environmental harm, which translates to animal suffering and death, for his vaping pleasure.
That are how fur and wool and these various different things that are made from animals, they last forever, and how all the polyesters and latex and all the different clothing materials we use, they put chemicals into the air. They are bad for the environment, and they don't last long, so we have to keep mass producing them. So anyways, what's your take on that video?
All right, so I have heard of Garland Farms before briefly. A couple of vegans that I follow on Twitter have had interactions with him, and I noticed right away he posted, when he starts talking about vegans, he's got a picture of vegan games, right away, and it's like, look, I'm not that down on vegan games, but his style sometimes, I understand why he's off-putting to certain people. He can be kind of obnoxious.
Yeah, that's to put it lightly, that vegan gains could be obnoxious. Isn't he the one that was expressing a desire to stomp babies?
Especially when he was critiquing Alex, the way he was kind of going off in that video. I don't know if you saw that, his response video to Alex no longer being vegan. I mean, to me, it was just really kind of over the top. And so I feel like right away, Garland Farms he's using somebody like Vegan Games to represent veganism. And I'm already like, no, there are other choices. And I noticed towards the end of his video, he put Earthling Ed in there. But
okay, so right there, he said, I noticed later on in the video that he put Earthling Ed in there.
He didn't lead with Earthling Ed. I thought
he didn't lead with Earthling Ed.
That was an interesting choice.
I thought that was an interesting choice, he says. So what do we know about Earthling Ed? Is he the sterling example of vegan? Is that what he's claiming here? Because we can certainly do a little examination on Earthling Ed. And does he Does he represent veganism? Let's see. Hello, this is a public service announcement to vegans worldwide. Just to let you know that Earthling Ed is accepting considerable financial support from a major umbrella corporation called Blue Horizon. Blue Horizon is a major stakeholder in a company called Ag Biome. Ag Biome profits very handsomely from selling deadly crop protection pesticides that cause death and suffering both to wild animals and humans. Here are just 7 of the harmful crop protection pesticides that help fund Earthling Ed's harmful activism. I will include links in the video description below so that you can learn more about the deadly pesticides that help finance Earthling Ed's harmful activism. Okay, so I'm not going to sit here and go through all of the different pesticides that the company that funds Earthling Ed is profiting from. But if you want to look that video up on my channel, it's called Vegans, Did You Know This About Earthling Ed? And it basically chronicles all of the harm that's done to different types of animals as a result of the pesticides that this company Ag Biome, which is owned by or partially owned by Blue Horizon Ventures. So you've got Earthling Ed is profiting from petroleum derived agrochemicals that are specifically engineered to kill animals. How ironic is that?
But the thing that got me right away with him was his repeated insistence at the beginning of the video, throughout the video, that these materials that he's going to critique are being promoted by vegans. Like somehow veganism goes hand in hand with promoting nylon and acrylic and polyurethane and all of this stuff.
Okay, well, we know that when vegans talk about alternative or say vegan fabrics, vegan leather alternatives, etc., usually we're talking about some type of polyurethane product. And let's see, I think I can even pull up PETA, which is always promoting PETA is like one of the Jesus figures for the vegan cult. Now, let me see if I can find that. Yeah, so here's PETA.org. What is vegan leather made of? Vegan leather is often made from polyurethane, a polymer that can be made to order for any designer's whim. It can also be made from innovative and sustainable materials such as pineapple leaves, cork, apple peels, other fruit waste, and recycled plastic, and used to create products that put animal skins to shame. So this is PETA not being exactly honest and forthright in their propaganda here. But you see there that vegan leather is often made from polyurethane. So for this fellow to claim that I'm being dishonest by exposing the fact that vegan leather is often made of polyurethane, is that intellectually honest? I'll leave you to decide. My opinion is no, it's not. not intellectually dishonest, or not intellectually honest. What do we know now regarding this? What we're looking at here is from PETA. What do we also know about PETA? Let me show you something that you may not know about PETA. Yeah, most people don't know that PETA has actually been caught staging animal torture videos. So they actually have arranged for animals to be tortured, and they stage this torture porn for the vegans, so that they can demonize animal agriculture for companies, corporations like Monsanto, Bayer. So this is very sinister. What we find with PETA is PETA has actually been caught staging animal abuse video, which is just shameful. And a lot of the, when vegans want to recruit more vegans, what they'll do is they'll go out and show animal torture porn to people on the street and so forth. And I've actually got a video that's in the works that's going to expose PETA and some other animal rights activist groups that have been caught again and again and again staging animal abuse videos, staging the abuse so that they can capture footage and use that footage that they paid for to demonize animal agriculture.
I have to say, I've never seen an advocate for veganism specifically endorse any of those things. Vegans may.
So he's saying he's never seen a vegan specifically endorse any type of, say, a leather alternative, a vegan leather alternative that contains polyurethane, for example. Well, we're going to see whether or not he knows what he's talking about.
They say that those are alternatives to wool, leather, fur, whatever. I don't see them going out of their way to promote those.
Would you say that Quade Rowan is going out of his way today? Is he going out of his way? Let's see.
Vegans are eco-conscious people. Okay, maybe it didn't start that way. Maybe there are still some vegans out there who they don't like environmentalism and the green movement.
Vegans don't like environmentalism, and that's because wild animals live in the environment and farm animals live on the farm. They're very speciesist, and you're going to see in a later episode of this, you're going to see this fellow Quade Rowan actually confess that vegans are speciesist. At least his vegan philosophy is very speciesist. So there's a lot of hypocrisy in the vegan cult that you're going to see now and in the future and throughout this debunking that I'm going to do on this video.
Being conflated with veganism because they are different things. But that being said, over the last, I'd say 5-6 years, even longer than that, the sustainability movement and the vegan movement have converged on so many areas that wherever you find vegans, you're going to find a good percentage of people who are very conscious of these issues. So the idea that vegans as a whole are promoting these ecologically damaging materials is just false.
We're going to show that what he just said is false.
I think at best you can say there's probably a number of vegans who are not fully tuned in to the issues that he
Yeah, and I think there may be two of them right here.
raised in the video with those materials. And that's fine. That's fine. Like, I don't, as far as it goes, I basically agree with the idea that all of those synthetic petrochemical alternatives to leather and fur and etc., they're not good for the environment.
Let's hear that again.
All of those synthetic petrochemical alternatives to leather and fur and etc., they're not good for the environment.
The environment is where the wild animals live. When you harm the environment, you're harming animals, you're causing animal suffering, you're causing animal death. He just said that he believes that all of these petrochemical derived fabrics that are labeled vegan fabrics that he does not support. Remember that.
But that brings me kind of to the next point here, which is that there are so many eco-friendly plant-based alternatives.
Okay, that's what someone would believe if they didn't have a sincere interest in the well-being of the animals or the environment, because then you would just be listening to the marketing of certain companies. You wouldn't actually put out the effort to look under or behind the marketing and find out what's really going on.
And it takes literally like 2 minutes to just look this up. The way that he picked.
So it sounds like he spent about 2 minutes researching this, and it shows. I think that 2 minutes is about as much research, much time that he put into his research.
And it takes literally like 2 minutes to just look this up. The way that he picked on the petrochemical based.
So I was picking on the petroleum industry. I was picking on them, poor little things.
Alternatives, as if that was it, as if vegans have not been promoting. Even before,
Now tell me if this was all sincere, wouldn't he be able to kind of speak off the cuff? Because it looks to me like he's looking down at some notes. Now, what kind of vegan who cares about the animals is going to be looking down at his notes when he's trying to talk about how vegans always support and promote the vegan fabrics that do not have petroleum products in them? Tell me, is he looking down at his notes?
And promoting. Even before, I would get into these discussions on Twitter. I knew about cactus leather. Veganism goes hand in hand with promoting nylon and acrylic and polyurethane and all of this stuff. I have to say, I've never seen an advocate for veganism specifically endorse any of those things. Vegans may say that those are alternatives to wool, leather, fur, or whatever. I don't see them going out of their way to promote those. Most vegans are eco-conscious people. Okay, maybe it didn't start that way. Maybe there are still some vegans out there who they don't like environmentalism. So many areas that wherever you find vegans, you're going to find a good percentage of people who are very conscious of these issues. So the idea that vegans as a whole are promoting these ecologically damaging materials is just
like
false.
polyurethane.
I think at best, with the idea that all of those synthetic petrochemical alternatives to leather and fur and etc., they're not good for the environment. But that brings me kind of to the next point here, which is that there are so many eco-friendly plant-based alternatives to all. And it takes.
We're going to examine that claim. We're about to examine that claim.
Just look this up. The way that he picked on the petrochemical based alternatives, as if that was it, as if vegans have not been promoting. Even before, I would get into these discussions on Twitter.
Look at those notes.
Cactus leather.
He knew about cactus leather. Is that what he said?
I would get into these discussions on Twitter. I knew about cactus leather.
So that's like he's throwing this trump card out there saying, Well, we've got cactus leather, right? And typical vegan doesn't look any deeper than just the surface marketing propaganda that's been put out there for the vegans. They hear cactus leather and they start frothing at the mouth and rolling around in the tulips and pretending that, oh, we've got this vegan replacement for leather and it doesn't have any polyurethane or anything. It's so sustainable. Okay, well, let's examine that. Let's examine how honest that really is. Pull up another screen here. Oh, this is not the one yet. I'm not ready for that. Yeah, here we go. No, that's Milo. That's a mushroom leather. Okay. So here we've got the circular laboratory. They do a lot of exposés on vegan fabrics, and these vegan fabric companies are not forthright about the ingredients of their product. So they actually had to do some deep investigation. And it says, through deeper investigation, we were able to find that the main ingredient in cactus leather is actually the plastic polyurethane. So here you've got a vegan who's promoting polyurethane fabric, but labeling it as cactus leather. Okay, so as time goes on, the more dishonest the entire scenario becomes. And so we can't actually, you cannot trust what's coming, the marketing that's coming from these alternative fabric manufacturers. And you certainly can't trust a vegan, because the vegan is not going to look past the very surface level propaganda or advertising that's coming their way. All they want to do, their main purpose, their main goal, is to take nutritious meat, dairy, and eggs out of your diet. And anything that comes out in the pop culture that supports that goal, they will latch on to it. They will not look any deeper than they hear cactus leather. And that's all they care is, oh my God, we've got cactus leather now. We don't have, and it's we don't have to have real leather anymore. And what is it made of? It's made of polyurethane, which is what he said that vegans do not promote. And here he is promoting what? What is he promoting? Polyurethane. Shameful. Absolutely shameful.
When we got new furniture for a house, made sure it was vegan and the most sustainable fabrics.
Why would you buy, if you're a vegan, why would you buy new furniture for your house? Why wouldn't you buy used furniture? Why would you create a demand for anything? Why do vegans not buy everything secondhand? Makes no sense.
And fibers that were available for us to purchase. Um, you know, and it's way beyond cactus leather now. Fruit leather,
Way beyond
mushroom
cactus,
leather,
fruit,
mushroom leather.
mushroom leather. All right, let's look at mushroom leather. Yeah, so this is mushroom leather. This is the primary mushroom leather producer, Milo. And this is their website, is Milo Plastic petroleum free. Milo materials composition is predominantly mycelium and currently contains some lyocell and water-based polyurethane. What is polyurethane? It is a petroleum product. It's a plastic. And so all of these, it doesn't matter whether it's fruit-based, pineapple, mushrooms, any kind of plant-based cactus, all of these leather are going to have polyurethane in them. They're going to contain polyurethane. That's the only way that they can simulate a semi-leather product, is using some type of polyurethane. And so, what happens when we know that petroleum, I know there's two camps to the petroleum argument. One is petroleum is fossil fuels. There's X amount of fossil fuels in the ground. Therefore, it's a finite resource. We're going to run out of it. As we get closer and closer to running out of it, it becomes more and more expensive. Then you've got another school of thought that says, no, it's, petroleum is actually created deep in the earth and it's independent of any type of former carbon-based life remains. So it's always going to be produced inside of the earth. Well, regardless of which one of those camps you come from, the fact remains that I know I grew up in West Texas, which is the oil field. I have seen firsthand over and over and over and over again oil wells going dry. And so whether or not it's being produced down deep into the earth and it's abiotic doesn't excuse the fact that we're using it faster than it can be replenished. So even if it's being naturally created inside the mantle of the earth, we can still run low on it, or we can still run out of it because we're using it faster than it can be replenished. And so in a vegan world, if you're going to rely upon polyurethane based materials that simply have some cactus fibers incorporated, or some banana fibers incorporated, or some mushroom fibers incorporated, just so you can claim that it's vegan, well, at some point this polyurethane is going to become so scarce. If we continue to use petroleum as required by the vegan lifestyle, then we're going to start running out of things like polyurethane. So when are you vegans going to offer up a wool or leather alternative that does not contain this petroleum product? And when are you going to stop promoting products that contain this polyurethane, despite the fact that you claim that you're not promoting polyurethane? It's absolutely shameful. Absolutely shameful. I think that the concern for the animals and the vegan cult is absolutely fake. It's pseudo concern. If they actually cared, then they wouldn't be they would actually do the research. If they cared, they would do the research. It's absolutely disgusting. Let's continue.
Leather is going to be a massive industry. But not only that, we talk a lot about these days about cell-based meat, whether it's
Okay, so now he's going to promote cell-based meat. And so he's talking about lab-grown meat. What do we know about lab-grown meat? Let me see if I can pull that up quickly. Yeah. So lab-grown meat is actually tumor cells. That's the only way that you can grow lab-grown meat is with what they call immortalized cells. So cancer cells are, quote, immortalized. They just keep dividing and dividing and dividing and dividing and dividing and dividing. That's why they cause tumors. That's why you get a lump in your breast, or you get a lump in your prostate, or you get a lump in your kidney. You get lumps because it's a lump of these immortalized cells that do not have any type of turnover. You don't have the old cells dying so that they can be replaced by the new cells. The old cells just keep living, and then the old cells come on scene, and then more new cells come on scene, and more new cells come on scene. The old cells never die. They're basically immortal. And so you have a tumor, you have a lump. And so that's the type of cell that they're using to create the so-called cultured meat. So it's not meat. These are tumors. So who in their right mind would point at a tumor and say, that's real meat, that's healthy meat? So lab-grown meat has bigger challenges than the FDA. How safe is it to consume? So here they're saying study finds lab-grown meat from a Bill Gates-backed company causes cancer. So people are actually trying to debunk that. They have not done any studies on this. What they're doing is they're saying that, oh yeah, human beings can eat cancer. They can eat a tumor. They can eat a cancerous tumor and not get cancer themselves. That has not been proven. There is no long term. You've got absolutely no studies that will prove that eating cancer cells mislabeled as meat is not going to cause cancer in humans. There's absolutely no science showing. In fact, if you were to cut up actual tumors from a cow and try to sell it in the supermarket as meat, then the vegans would be in an uproar. You'd find there'd be all kinds of civil disobedience going on by the vegans because they're actually selling, bovine tumors. Meanwhile, if you want to take bovine tumor cells and grow them in a lab and then sell them as meat, then the vegans are perfectly fine with that. This is more of this absolutely intellectual dishonesty that we get from the vegan cult.
it's grown from cells or that whole fermentation process. I think it's the same process. I get confused sometimes. I don't know the science that well.
So this guy doesn't know the science that well. He thinks that growing tumors and selling it as meat is the same thing as fermentation. See, vegans don't do their research. They do not know the facts. All they want to do is remove the meat, dairy, fish, and eggs from your diet. And they don't give a damn about whether or not they've been lied to, but anything that comes along that promotes their agenda, they'll latch onto it.
that whole fermentation process. I think it's the same process. I get confused sometimes. I don't know the science that well.
Yeah, you don't know the science that well because fermentation and lab-grown tumor cells are not the same thing. You should be ashamed of yourself for not doing the research. I'm ashamed of you for not doing the research. How much harm could you potentially do by giving people dietary advice and not knowing what the hell you're talking about?
But like I hear fermentation and I hear stem cells. I think they're
So he thinks fermentation and stem cells are the same thing. What kind of ignorance parade is going on here?
I don't know the science that well, but like I hear fermentation and I hear stem cells. I think they're the same process, but like,
Oh my God. This is like, this is absolutely shameful. This is shameful that a vegan would actually stand up in public and promote tumor cells to be eaten by human beings, and then turn around and then talk about stem cells, and then talk about fermentation. And I don't know the science. I think stem cells and fermentation are the same thing. That is what we're dealing with here, folks. That is the vegan cult. Is this, I don't know the difference between stem cells and fermentation. I think it's the same thing. Shameful.
or maybe there's two different processes involved, but either way, like fermentation, those processes are also being used to create leather and
This is what he's saying right now is absolutely not true.
and like actual leather, not plastic leather, not fake
No.
leather, not even plant-based leather, but actual leather, in the same way that the cell-grown, the lab-grown meat is actually meat grown from cells.
No, it's not actually meat. It's tumors. Those are tumor cells. Look into it. Go to your Google, look up lab-grown meat, immortalized cells, tumor. These are tumor cells. It's not meat. Just because it's technically animal tissue does not mean that it's meat. It's not meat.
They can now grow leather in a very similar way.
No, they cannot. You're right now, you're just saying what you think will work in your favor in your agenda to remove the nutritious meat, dairy, eggs, and fish from people's diet. Anything that supports that agenda, you're prepared to say it. That's all this is. You should be ashamed of yourself.
They can make, I was reading a little bit about the chemical processes. Yes.
Oh, you were reading a little bit about the chemical process. I was reading a little bit about this. I know a little bit about this. I think stem cells and fermentation are the same thing. Shameful.
Today and today, and like how collagen is part of is a big part of like what gives the leather its texture. They can grow that from yeast.
Okay, they cannot grow collagen from yeast. Let me show you what actually they're doing. Genetically engineered vegan collagen. So vegan collagen is made by adding human genes that produce collagen to the microbial genetic structure, which leads to production of collagen components by the yeast or bacteria. It's production of collagen components. It's not the production of collagen. It's the production of collagen components. And then you read, a digestive enzyme called pepsin is also added to assist with placing the collagen components into actual collagen molecules. So what is pepsin? Where do we get industrially produced pepsin? Let's see. How is pepsin industrially produced? Pepsin is prepared commercially from swine stomachs. So here's a vegan claiming that they're producing vegan collagen, and vegan collagen production requires pig stomachs. Again, what we're seeing here is the lack of interest from the vegans, because all they want to do is remove the nutrition from your diet. Veganism is a very misanthropic and harmful cult. And so what they want to do is they really want to interrupt the food supply. I think that most vegans would be thrilled with a global famine. The misanthropy is so thick, it's so disgusting. But you've got, this vegan collagen requires swine stomachs. Would a vegan who's promoting vegan collagen, would they actually tell you the truth about the swine stomachs? No, they wouldn't, because all they care about is removing the nutritious meat, dairy, eggs, and fish from your diet. And anything that will help them promote that agenda, they'll promote that. They'll say it, because that is literally all they care about. They don't care. They don't care about anything else. They will not research anything. All they do is they grab on to different talking points, vegan talking points, and then they go out and they parrot those over and over and over. They have no idea what they're talking about. All they do is they hear something that sounds good, and they're smart enough to repeat it, and that's it. That is it. It's absolutely shameful, and it's absolutely disgusting.
The biotech basically is heavily invested in coming up, doing the same thing with clothing.
Biotech. What do we know about the biotech industry right now? What we know is that all types of biotech companies have been exposed being involved in various fraud schemes. So this biotech stuff, this is like, this is like Blue Horizon crap. This is anything plant-based, where they're telling people, for instance, that they can create leather out of cactus, and you look into it and you find out, well, the majority of this product is actually polyurethane. So it's one biotech company after another where they're getting, luckily we've got some, at least facets of our government that are still holding these companies accountable for their fraud. But it's one after another. You look into it. Just go up to Google and put fraud biotech. So any vegan that's telling you that, these biotech companies are going to replace animals in our nutrition and our leather and our wool, we don't need animals anymore. We can kill all the animals, and we can just get by on plants. Will biotech meat become the next tech scandal? It's one after another. It's going to be a never-ending stream of fraud, absolute fraud coming from these biotech companies. Anyone that's pushing vegan biotech, you just need to turn away from them, because, in my opinion, they absolutely can't be trusted. They absolutely cannot be.
Clothing material as these other tech startups are doing with meat and dairy. So that is going to be a huge industry.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing that he didn't mention in his video, and this is another one of those things that I've known for some time, because this stuff comes up.
Okay, so I think that's it. Well, that's going to be the first segment, and then we're going to do another segment of debunking on this vegan duo that's trying to debunk Garland Farms, and it's going to be very painful for them to be exposed like they're going to be exposed, because I am not going to be pulling punches. I don't care how cordial you are. I don't care how nicely you try to take away our nutrition. I do not take kindly to it. I think it's criminal what you guys are doing, trying to take essential nutrients away from human beings, claiming, oh, well, B12 is the only nutrient that you can't get from plants, and we can make that in a lab. It's not made in a lab. It's made in huge factories, and it's not one factory. It's like 30 different factories that are required to produce B12. And there's animal products involved, animal products and petroleum, methane, coal, oil, milk, poultry manure. So this idea that we can mandate a vegan world and not cause mass human casualties is absolutely irresponsible for those people who are pushing this agenda. And it's absolutely scary that such a small group has the political pull and power that they're wielding right now. And it just, it's part of this whole woke culture where, the vegans and the trans and the men and women's sports, it just goes on and on, where the vegans are actually part of this clown world, this ridiculous wrong is right universe that we're being corralled into. And no one wants it. No one wants to live in your 15-minute cities. No one wants to be isolated for years. No one wants to rely upon your plastic bottles full of supplements. I've got a video coming out soon that's exposing the supplement industry that are promoting vitamin K2 in the form of MK7. MK7 has never been proven to help healthy bones and teeth at all. It's MK4. MK4 is the only version of K2 that's been proven over and over and over again, over 25 different studies that have proven that the only K2 that builds strong bones and teeth is MK4, not MK7. But you go to your local pharmacy, look at the across, over the shelf versions of K2, and what do they have? MK7. MK7 that's not been proven to do anything for human beings at all. You might as well be, it's completely useless. It's MK4 that's been proven over and over again to help healthy bones and teeth. So I will queue up the next segment of this to be debunked, and we will debunk it either tomorrow or the next day. And we're going to take this Garland Farms debunking reaction conversation one bite at a time, so that people can actually sit down and watch it in bite-sized portions. And I'll try to have everything lined up to debunk what they're saying. But they're going to be absolutely shamed whenever I get through with it. They made a huge mistake airing this. They're going to expose themselves as having a misanthropic agenda, and they're going to expose themselves as promoting things like polyurethane. If I was them, I would be extremely ashamed. There's lots of questions that I've asked Carson, who's there on the right. He's talking to him face to face. He's a super polite fellow. He's very cordial. He's very nice. But I've asked him some pretty hard questions, and he refuses to answer them. He will not answer my questions. And I'm also going to be exposing him in regard to the questions. I've been cataloging all the questions that he's ignoring. And so we're going to expose Carson on the questions that he will not face and he will not answer. So that said, thank you all for coming. I appreciate your presence. I love you all.